Okay, so sentences have a subject, a predicate, and express a complete thought. So for example, we have the snow is falling. So that names the subject snow. And we know what's happening, which is that it is falling. And it's also a complete thought. Okay, so for subjects, we need to know that subjects can be either complete or simple. So complete subjects are supposed to be really broad, just who or what the sentence is about. So for example, a loud argument broke out at the game. So in that case, the sentence is talking about a loud argument. So that is the complete subject, a loud argument. And then the young Roy pilot read the storm warning. That's talking about the young Roy pilot. So then that is the complete subject there. The newspaper article mentioned our newest menu item. So because it's talking about the newspaper article, then that's the complete subject. It's always just who or what is the sentence about. That is and it has to be broad. The complete subject is always broad. Just who or what is the sentence about. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then inside of every complete subject, there's the simple subject. The simple subject is the noun or pronoun that is inside the complete subject. Okay, so for example, if we know in general, the sentence is about a loud argument. Okay, so the simple subject has to be the specific noun or pronoun inside of the complete subject. And it's just more specifically who or what is the sentence about. Okay, so if we know in general this sentence was about a loud argument, we just need to know specifically it's about the argument. That is the specific noun that the sentence is about. Okay, now if we know in general the sentence is about the young Ray pilot, more specifically, the sentence is about the pilot. That is specifically who or what the sentence is about. Okay, then we have the newspaper article. So if we know in general the sentence is about the newspaper article, more specifically though, it's about the article. That is the specific person, place, or thing that the sentence is about. Okay. I'd like for you to try and find the complete and simple subjects for questions 1, 2, and 3.
For one, it's stomach. For two,
Wait. We
it's
need two answers. We need the complete and the simple. So what is the complete subject?
doctor's office for number one.
Is it about the doctor's office?
It's a severe stomach.
Whose severe stomach ache?
Mine.
Yes, that is the complete subject. Okay, now for the simple, you have to pick one of those words. And it has to be the noun, the specific thing that the sentence is about.
Stomach.
Stomach ache. It's all one word.
Stomach ache. Sorry.
No, you're good. So that would be the simple. Okay, now you can try question 2.
Okay. Our new mail carrier slipped.
So it wouldn't include the slipped because it needs to be only the person, place, or thing that the sentence is about.
Okay. And it'll be slipped.
Well, remember, there's no slipped. So it needs to be either our, new, mail, or carrier for the simple. Those are our only choices.
Our.
Is that the specific person, place, or thing that the sentence was about?
No, ma'am. It's about the mail carrier.
There we go. Then that's the simple subject. Okay. And then question 3.
The longest, dearest road.
Yes, very good. Okay, now we need to pick one of those words, either the, long, dreariest, or road for the simple subject. And it has to be a noun. It has to be a thing that the sentence was about.
Road.
Yes, there we go. Nice job. So that's how we find the complete and simple subjects. Okay. Now, sometimes subjects can be more than one word. So, for example, sausage and mushrooms are Leo's favorite pizza toppings. So, in that particular sentence, it's about more than one person, place, or thing because basically it's both sausage and mushrooms that are Leo's favorite pizza toppings. Okay, so in that case, when the sentence is about more than one person, place, or thing equally, then that's called a compound subject. And so in that case, even the simple subjects would be more than one word. Okay, now you also need to know that subjects can be found not just at the beginning. Subjects can be found in the middle of the sentence or even at the end of a sentence. So for example, here we have early yesterday afternoon, Janet completed the scarf she was knitting. Okay, so in that case, that is about Janet. It's not about the afternoon. It's not about the scarf. It's about what was Janet doing. So it doesn't matter that Janet is in the middle of the sentence. It only matters that it's who or what the sentence is about. Okay. And then hiding in the bushes was Drew's lost cat, Bootsy. So it's not about the bushes. It's not about Drew. It's about the cat, Bootsy. So it doesn't matter that cat, or in other words, Bootsy is at the end of the sentence. The only thing that matters is that it's who or what the sentence is about. Okay. That makes sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, now for tricky subjects. Sometimes sentences, they might seem like they don't have a subject, but they do. Okay, so for those kinds of sentences, those are called imperative sentences. And imperative sentences are supposed to make requests or commands. And so the imperative sentences, when they make requests or commands, they have an implied subject of you. So even though there's not a you in the sentence, that's still who or what the sentence is about. Okay, now if we're trying to find the subject of a question, okay, so let's say, for example, why didn't he make his bed before leaving for school? To find the subject of that question, then what we're going to do is, well, actually, there's two different ways that we could find the subject of that question. We could either answer that question. For example, we could say, he did not make his bed because of blah, blah, blah reason, whatever that is. Or we could just, instead of asking a question, like, why even bother asking a question? Just say, he didn't make his bed before leaving for school. Okay. So then the subject of that sentence would just be he. Okay, now let's take a look at predicates. So predicates can be either complete or simple. Okay, so complete predicates, I like to think of that as just everything after the complete subject. So once we know that the complete subject is a loud argument, then the rest of the entire sentence is the complete predicate, broke out of the game. Okay, then the young gray pilot read the storm warning. Once we know that in general the sentence is about the young gray pilot, then the rest of the entire sentence is the complete predicate, read the storm warning. The next sentence is about the newspaper article, so then that means that the rest of the entire sentence is the complete predicate, which would be mentioned our newest menu item. Miss Dawson is our most difficult customer. That seems to be talking about Miss Dawson. So then that means that the rest of the entire sentence is the complete predicate, which would be is our most difficult customer. And then my neighbor rarely complains about snow. So that seems to be talking about my neighbor. And then the rest of the sentence is the complete predicate, which would be rarely complains about snow. Okay, then every complete predicate will also have a simple predicate. The simple predicate is supposed to be the verb and only the verb of the sentence. Okay, so the thing is that's tricky is that most people can recognize action verbs. Action verbs are like the doing verbs, the verbs that you can easily picture or imagine. So, for example, like read. Read is an action. Complains. Complains is an action, so that would be the simple predicate. Or broke. Broke is an action, so that would be the simple predicate for the first one. So, like I said, they're usually pretty easy to see, but we do need to know that there are other verbs that we still need to be able to recognize, which would be the helping and linking verbs. So the helping and linking verbs are words like am, is, are, was, were, be, being, been, do, does, did, has, have, had, and should, would, could. Okay, so There are several possibilities for simple predicates. We could have just the action verb as a simple predicate. So for example, Kevin walked 5 miles today. Walked is the action. So then that means that walked is the simple predicate. Then you could have just a linking verb as a simple predicate. So for example, Pam wasn't happy with Michael yesterday. Okay, and then unhappy is not an action. The only verb in that sentence is was. Okay, so that's the simple predicate. Okay, then you could have both an action verb and a linking verb as a simple predicate. Okay, so Oscar was dancing at the party with Angela. So dancing is an action, but there's also the helping and linking verb was. And so both of them are part of the simple predicate. It's also important to know that if there was a word like not, Oscar was not dancing at the party with Angela, you would skip over the not, and the simple predicate would still be was dancing. Okay. Or even if it doesn't have to be not, but any word between the was and the dancing you would skip over. Like maybe Oscar was slowly dancing. We would skip over the slowly. So the simple predicate again would just be was dancing. Okay, and then just as a reminder, there can be verbs later in the sentence, but they're not the simple predicates unless it's what the subject is doing. Okay. Okay, so I'd like for you to try numbers 4, 5, and 6.
So for number 4, it would be writ.
For the complete or the simple?
The simple would be curtain, the
Mm,
purple curtain.
so that's the simple, or I'm sorry. The purple curtain is the complete subject because it's who or what the sentence is about. The
Okay.
complete predicate is everything after that.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the simple predicate has to be in the complete predicate. And yes, it was ripped.
Okay, so
So how about maybe we start with the complete subject?
the complete subject, our president always buys
Who or what is the sentence about?
the competitor's product.
Is it about the competitor's product?
No, ma'am, it's about our president, my president.
Okay, so that's the complete subject, our president. And that would be it. Just who or what the sentence is about, and nothing else is the complete subject. Then the complete predicate is everything after that. So that would be always buy some of our competitors' products. Okay, now what do you think is the simple predicate, the verb of that sentence?
Buys,
Yes, uh-huh. Okay, now what is the complete subject for question 6?
backgrounds are
What kind of
difficult to read.
backgrounds?
Dotted print backgrounds.
Okay, that's it. That's it for the complete subject and nothing after that because it's only who or what. There should be no verbs in the complete subject. Okay, now the complete predicate is everything after that. So it would be are difficult to read. Okay, now let's find the simple predicate. So the verb of the
Diffi-
sentence.
difficult.
Can we difficult something?
No,
So it's not
but
an action verb.
we can read something.
So this is the tricky part, is that simple predicates must go with what the subject is doing. Are the backgrounds doing the reading?
No, ma'am.
So then that's not the simple predicate then. So the simple predicate is actually are.
Are.
So if you don't know that those words are verbs like am, is, are, was, were, be, being, been, do, does, did, you need to memorize them. That yes, they are verbs. Am, is, are, was, were, be, being, been. Okay. You can try these multiple choice ones.
For one, it's work well with others.
Mm-mm. Well with others are not verbs, and the simple predicate can only be verbs, and that's it.
Temperament. Okay. Did work.
Yes,
Okay.
uh-huh.
For one is did work.
Mm-hmm.
And for the second one, containers.
No.
Oh, it's not containers. It would be then children's health,
Mm-mm. It should be the chemicals
chemicals.
because it's plastic containers was close, but it's specifically about the chemicals in the plastic
Mm,
containers.
okay.
Okay. Okay, now let's take a look at independent clauses. And yeah, we're going to talk about clauses because clauses are very important to determining sentence types. Okay, so for independent clauses, they have a subject, a verb, and then a complete thought. So, for example, the snow is falling. So that names the subject snow. We know what's happening to it, which is that it is falling, and it's a complete thought. So when you have one independent clause, then that is a simple sentence. Okay, when you have two independent clauses, In other words, two complete thoughts. That is a compound sentence. Okay, so for example, I gave her good advice, and that's one complete thought. And and then she took it. That's another complete thought. So because there are two complete thoughts, that's what makes the sentence compound. Okay, my dentist pulled my wisdom teeth. That's one complete thought. It didn't hurt as badly as I thought it would. That's another complete thought. So because there are two complete thoughts, that is what makes the sentence compound. Okay, so when you want to combine two complete sentences together, there are only two correct ways. You can use a semicolon, or you can use a comma and a fanboy. Fanboys are supposed to be for and nor, but or yet so. Okay, so you have to memorize the fanboys. But if you see a fanboy, you might have a compound sentence, maybe, but you should try replacing the fanboy with a period. And then if you have two complete thoughts when you do that, then definitely the sentence is compound. And then if you have only one complete thought, the sentence is not compound. Okay, let me give you an example. Okay, so we have Kevin Malone likes eating pizza but doesn't like eating broccoli. Okay, so we have a fanboy of but. So we replace the fanboy with a period. And so if we replace the fanboy with a period, then we get Kevin Malone likes eating pizza. That's one complete thought. Doesn't like eating broccoli. That's not a complete thought. Okay, so if that's confusing, that you don't recognize that as a complete thought, then what you do is you can try and take it totally out of context. Like almost imagine that someone just walks up to you and says that. Someone just walks up to you and says, doesn't like eating broccoli. It's like, who? What are you talking about? That's how you know that that is not a complete thought. So because it's not a complete thought, there are not two complete thoughts, then this sentence is not compound. Compound sentences absolutely must have two complete thoughts. Okay, now let's take a look at dependent clauses. So dependent clauses, they have a subject and a verb, but they are not complete thoughts. So for example, when I saw the snow falling. So I is a subject, saw is a verb, but when I saw the snow falling is not a complete thought. Okay, now the best way to recognize a dependent clause is that dependent clauses will have subordinating conjunctions. And subordinating conjunctions, just this is my acronym for them, which is supposed to be WABU, WABUITIS. It stands for when, where, while, after, although, as, before, because, though, unless, until, that, and if, since, even. So again, you'd have to memorize these in order to recognize a dependent clause. Okay, now let me go over the steps to follow when you're trying to determine the type of sentence that you have. Okay, first you should look for a semicolon because semicolons are really easy to look for. If there's a semicolon, then that means that the sentence is something compound or compound complex. And if there is not a semicolon, then that doesn't really help us determine anything. Okay, now what we should do is if there's no semicolon, we should look for fanboys or and nor but or yet and so. If we see a fanboy, we absolutely must replace it with a period. And then we're trying to see if there are two complete thoughts or not. If there's two complete thoughts, then that means that we have a compound or compound complex sentence. If we have only one complete thought, then that means that it cannot possibly be compound. Compound sentences absolutely must have two complete thoughts. Absolutely must. Then, if there was no fanboy at all, then that also means that it's not compound anything. By that point, if you haven't seen a semicolon and then you don't see a fanboy, then it's definitely not anything compound. Okay, now for 3, the third step, is that you should look for watis, which stands for when, where, while, after, although, as, before, because, though, unless, until, that, and if, since, even. There are a few words that are not part of the wabuabuatis that you would still have to know, which would be who, whom, whose, which, why, and how, plus a verb. You want to make sure that there's a verb pretty close after the wabuabuatis, or the who, whom, whose, which, why, how, because some of the wabuabuatis act like prepositions and they form prepositional phrases, but we don't care about phrases when trying to figure out sentence type. We only care about clauses. Okay, now okay, so if you see a wabuabuatis plus a verb, then that means that the sentence is complex in addition to compound. And then if you don't see a wabuabuatis at all, then it cannot possibly be anything complex. Okay. Okay, let me go over an example. Okay, we're going to do question 3 as an example together. So we have Bruno, on the other hand, likes the view that he gets in the log cabin up in the mountains, and he enjoys hiking in the forest. Okay, so the very first thing that we do is look for a semicolon. If there's a semicolon, then that means that the sentence is something compound, which I don't see a semicolon here for question 3. So what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. We can't figure out what type of sentence it is just based on that there's no semicolon. So when there's no semicolon, then we should look for fanboys. And the for and nor but or yet so. So if we see a fanboy, we have to replace it with a period. So if I look at sentence 3, there is a fanboy. There's the fanboy and right here. So we should replace it with a period. After we replace it with a period, we're trying to see if there's 2 complete thoughts. If there's 2 complete thoughts, then the sentence is something compound, either plain compound or compound complex. And if there's only 1 complete thought, then it's not compound anything. So let's see. Bruno, on the other hand, likes the view that he gets from the log cabin up in the mountains. Yeah, that's a complete thought. And then he enjoys hiking in the forest. Yeah, that's another complete thought. So because there are 2 complete thoughts, then automatically this sentence is something compound. So it cannot be A or B. It had 2 complete thoughts, so that makes it compound. Okay. Now, if there had not been a fanboy, then it would not be compound or compound complex. Okay, then the third step that you always do is look for wabu, wabu, whitis, and who, whom, whose, which, why, and how, and then plus a verb. Let me rewrite the wabu, wabu, whitis. When, where, while, after, although, as, before, because, though, unless, until, that, and if, since, even. I highly recommend that when you're looking for these wabu wabuatis, that you go very, very slowly looking for them. Because a lot of my students, they look at the sentence and they go, no, I don't see a wabu wabuatis. And there's one there. So you have to be very, very slow and careful. Okay, so There's not a when. A where. Is there a where? No, there's not a where. While? No, there's not a while. After? No, there's not an after. Although? No, there's not an although. As? No, I don't see an as. Before? No, I don't see a before. Because? No, I don't see a because. Though? No, I don't see it though. Unless? No, I don't see an unless. Until? No, I don't see an until. That. Oh, there's a that right there. So when there's a wabu wabu atis, first of all, that means that this is the beginning of the dependent clause. And then let's see, it would end with a noun like mountains. And basically the dependent clause makes the sentence complex in addition to compound. And that's why it would be option D. Okay, now let's take a look at question 2 and then question 4. I'd like you to try those two, please.
Okay. Number two is a complex sentence.
Okay, what makes you say that?
Well, because there's an and I scratched out the and put a period. So the first part is a complete sentence, but the second part, oh, well, the second part would be a complete sentence because I know I'm talking about Pauline.
No. So first,
Spend her days sunbathing. No, it's not a complete sentence.
you have to take it out of context. So, like I said, imagine that someone just walks up to you and says, spend her day sunbathing. Do you know who
Yeah,
they're
I would
talking
say like
about?
no, yeah,
Right.
no.
Okay, but that means that the sentence is not compound. The fanboy can only tell me if the sentence is compound or not. So
Okay.
fanboys help me figure out if it's compound. The waboo wabooitis help me figure out if it's complex or not. Is there a waboo wabooitis in the sentence?
No, ma'am.
Then that means it is not complex.
Simple sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So for number four, it would be a simple sentence as well,
Yes.
because I took away the and, put a period. There's no waboo waboo on there. And with that period being there, the second part doesn't make sense. So it'd be a simple sentence.
Yes. Okay. Okay, perfect.